This felt like an especial. That's right.
Especial?
That's how I would say it if it was in some old-timey way, gang.
That's true.
Anyway, before you interrupted me with your doubt, this felt like an especial occasion for the orgy mask.
God damn it.
Prithee tell what ye thinks, papa.
Papa! Papa!
Dude, look. I'm not hating at all, but any movie that has a little kid saying papa, instantly garbage.
Hey, look, at least this was time appropriate.
True.
If it was like Doctor Strange
and
the Multiverse of Madness. Now, granted, they didn't say papa, but they might as well have, those kids.
It was a spiritual mama.
Yeah, it was, man. With ice cream. Anyway, I'm going to take the orgy mask off.
Yeah, it's echoing across.
Disgusting.
And why are our costumes so much more elaborate than everybody else's? Like they didn't put any effort into it. Oh, Jesus Christ. That guy's not even wearing a mask.
Well, he's got the right idea. This beak is interfering with my knife.
What do you do? Don't take it off. Oh, Jesus, what are we doing here, man?
I'm more disturbed by how gross it feels to wear it.
Yeah,
perfectly slick and clean, mind you.
I feel like you kind of need to have
an orgy happening?
No, I was going to say a wing dish. Chicken wing dish.
That's a good point. Wing dish would do very well right now. That and a couple of kids going, Papa!
God damn it.
Anyway, we just saw Talks-Feratu.
God damn it!
This is my second time seeing it. This is your first time seeing it.
Yeah.
Nosferatu fan number one.
I'm wearing him, guy.
I mean, you wore him, but you didn't, let him wear you, if you will.
I wore him, and then I fixed his finger.
That's a good move, because that finger was crooked as hell.
You could buy this shirt in our shop.
Yeah. Totally royalty free, because,
it's over 100 years old, guy.
Yes, sir. You know who else is over 100 years old? Those kids that were going, Papa!
God damn it, I hated them.
Anyway, those kids aside.
I'm not gonna lie, I audibly laughed when they died.
Yeah.
So that one didn't laugh, I hangoed.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta freaking at least chuckle a little bit because the papas. But I feel like that was like a low-key way that he got away with murdering 2 kids in the movie.
You think the papas were intentional?
He is the writer, man. Robert Eggers is. He's like, I gotta justify the death of these children.
Let's make them annoying.
Let's make them say papa more than once.
It's worthy to note that the voices of the kids were dubbed in. Mm-hmm. So maybe you theorized that they were just really bad actors. Mm-hmm. Now I think that they were fine actors, but he wanted to make them more annoying so that you wanted them to die.
He dubbed it for the papa?
Yeah. I feel like we spent too much time on the papa.
Too much time.
The Papaniverse.
Now, I don't know what your reaction to this movie is going to be because you are, in fact, a renowned Nosferatite. Mm-hmm. Now, I will say there's a good chance that you loved it because you liked my edit / butchering of the original. So
I'm not going to lie. Your edit was pretty great. Mm-hmm. Cut out all the freaking fluff.
There's a lot of fluff in the original. It's a masterpiece. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that that it should be edited, but
that's just like a thing of the times, man. Like
there was a lot of coffin walking.
You know what? Another point against this movie.
This one? Because
there isn't 20 minutes of him walking around with a goddamn coffin.
There is a lot of that in the original, and for some reason you love it.
It's great, dude. I want NECA to release a coffin accessory for the Nosferatu.
I would buy another Nosferatu just to have him walk a coffin around.
Hell yeah.
I don't know why he walks in toy form.
I'm gonna send you this picture that I have on my phone saved, and let's just say you're gonna love it. It's a kind of like an etched medieval thing of him walking with a coffin.
Hell yeah, boy!
It's great, guy.
Love me a woodcut. Love me a Nosferatu walking with a coffin, no less.
Yeah.
Put them together, I'm in love.
So that's unfortunately not in this movie.
Not enough coffin walking is a big criticism, and
no coffin walking.
No coffin walking, really. Yeah. Here's a positive compared to the original. There's also a lot of Thomas Hutter writing in the original. Like, a lot.
Yeah.
And thankfully, though there is actual Thomas Hutter writing in this one, it's a sensical and sensible amount of it where you're like, okay, this is good versus me seeing the whole goddamn trek back and forth.
Yeah. Okay, so we're having a lot of unserious positives and negatives. Let me give you...
serious as a freaking Black Plague, bro.
I'm going to give you my biggest positive about this movie.
Is it Papa?
It's not Papa.
Okay.
And I guess I guess you'll kind of deduce what I think about it after that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the biggest thing that this movie does well for Nos, well, it does a lot of good things for Nos.
Nos, the rapper?
Feratu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got to clear that up because he's also in this movie. You didn't know.
Yeah, he is.
He's the Black Plague.
He's really shitty guy. He's super black.
Well, he's the Black Plague.
Yeah.
He's got to be shitty.
Yeah, there's
Great
no
rapper though.
No plague that's cool.
That's true. That's true.
Anyway,
Nos is pretty good at playing the Black Plague.
Best thing that this movie does for Nos, in my opinion, and one thing that I, even as a Nosferatite, I was like, man, that kind of sucks of the original. I honestly don't remember the. Oh shit! What's his name? I was gonna say William Forsythe. What's his
Willem
name?
Dafoe?
No. What's the 70s? Herzog. I don't remember the Herzog ending. That
Werner,
way.
not William.
Yeah.
Not William Herzog.
So I can't speak to that one, but there's definitely something I always thought the original was super anticlimactic, and that's the ending.
The sudden death, and it's just kind of like
that homie just kind of forgets.
Yeah.
He's sucking hard, and he just kind of forgets that he has to go back. And he just kind of disappears, guy.
In typical Eggers fashion, he adds a lot of substance, you know.
Yeah.
And now, granted, this is his first adaptation of something, you know. So there's that. But I'm saying, like, to all his movies, he adds so much detail that it's almost like, well, it is a freaking delight to revisit them because there's so much to...
Turkish delight?
Turkish delight, yeah. Specifically.
Isn't that a dessert?
It is now.
All
Why?
right.
Because I'm hungry. But anyway, the point...
Dude.
I would suck on a chest right now, to be honest with you. But, so he adds all this detail.
Yeah, there's like this whole thing added to the ending, basically. Let's not give too many details, but...
No, but there's a lot of substance added to why things unfold the way they do. And in typical Eggers fashion, he adds like this spiritual subtext to it. It's in all his movies, even The Northman. It might not seem that way in The Northman because we're talking about a belief system that is not common in the West anymore. But in all his movies, there's a very rich spiritual subtext pertaining to the environments that these people are living in. And that, here he plays not only with the spirituality of the modern world that the modern world was kind of taking to, but there's also kind of like a Northman-esque throwback to, you know, kind of like a weird, well, to use the movie's terms, a heathenistic belief system. And he kind of blends these things in to make that ending really like stick out, man, and really feel worthwhile.
Yeah.
You know, versus just a guy just stayed up too late.
Kind of forgot.
You know, we've all stayed up too late, sucking chest no less. But it really feels big.
Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want to take anything away from the OG because it was like apparently the first instance of a vampire dying by the sun. I don't know if that's true or not. I heard it through the grapevine.
Cinematically, anyway.
The California Raisins told me.
Yeah.
So it is important, but man, that boy just kind of forgot.
Yeah.
At least it comes off that way.
And then, you know, there's also a lot to assume in the original since obviously there's no dialogue and you know, you can't have 1,000 inner titles in the side of the movie. Otherwise, you're just reading a book. There's no denying, of course, that this is obviously what Nosferatu was. It's a take on Dracula, right? But the original had so much distinctive flavor that it feels of its own nature. This one does something amazing, and that is that it feels like a goddamned perfect balance, man. I don't know how the hell he did it, but it just feels perfectly balanced. It feels equally like it's homaging the original, and yet it copies nothing exactly like it. There's moments that evoke an emotion, like a connection to, if you've seen the original, you're like, oh, I feel it, and yet it's different, which is amazing. And then there's moments where you're like, this is delving more to Dracula's side, and yet it feels distinctly on its own, and yet it feels like it's still, you know, a version of Nosferatu.
I think that one thing that I was kind of
Mustache?
No. It has nothing to do with mustache. It has to do with my thing being, if you wanted to make a Dracula movie, just make a Dracula movie. Nosferatu is its own thing, though we know it's not. It is very much its own feeling.
Yeah.
So it's good to see that, like you said, it kind of justifies being its own.
It's so strange because there's moments in this movie that visually stir up like an emotion in me when I'm seeing it, because I could see how he's trying to connect, or achieving it, mind you, not just trying to connect to these visual cues that are distinctive to German Expressionism without ever using the abstract, architecture, nothing like that.
It's interesting because it kind of, I mean, I don't think it was like freaking let me shit on it, but it felt like he was almost intentionally not recreating scenes.
Yes.
You
know what? Yes.
But in its own way, doing its own thing and it being cool anyway. Because at this point, I mean, like, we've seen, it's been 100 years, dude. We've seen that imagery, countless times, and it's kind of pointless to recreate it.
Right.
Because you're never going to get to that.
It's almost become quiche to recreate it because, or kitsch, I should say, not quiche the cheese, but it's become kitsch to recreate it because of people like Tim Burton. I'm not shitting on him, obviously love his early stuff, but it's become part of the, the cultural zeitgeist to evoke exact imagery like that. But anyway, Ray Eggers does something amazing, and he's balancing so many things so perfectly, and I love that, and I love how he does it. And I don't know how it played for you this first time, because I'll tell you this, it played kind of differently for me the first time. I loved them both times, but seeing it this time, I felt like the fever pitch of the movie, It felt like you're entering like a bizarre, like a dream in the first, half of it. And then it's building up like a whirlwind, towards the end. And it's just so perfectly executed. The first viewing, I was just kind of in awe of how fantastic a filmmaker he is. One thing, I know you're a big fan of transitions, and I don't know how much you took that in this go around, but there's this thing that he does with transitions in between scenes that is gorgeous.
There's a lot of really like nice kind of like camera movement in the movie.
Mm-hmm. A lot of like weird switching of the scene, It's just provocative filmmaking without being, in your face. It's just sewed into this.
Except for that cock.
Well, the cock, I mean, you got
straight up in her face.
If you got a cock on screen, you got to at least flap it around once, which is a point away from this one because there was no flapping of cocks.
Cock or long.
That's a good name, guy.
Yeah, because he's got a long dog. Let's go back to less serious stuff.
Okay.
This is my boy. Visually, he's never going to be beaten, in my opinion.
Except for the fact that he has a very visible bald cap.
Ah, man.
Once you noticed, you couldn't unsee it.
Well, no, look, guy. I'm not going to pretend like it's visible in every shot. I found one picture where it was very visible, and it kind of broke it a little.
To your credit,
haven't seen the freaking...
We've only ever seen really not super degraded, but not pristine quality versions of Nosferatu. The clearer the image is, the more you see the bald cap. Yeah. So you've not been privy to it for too much.
I feel like part of the degrading... It's part of the charm. Yeah, it's part of the charm, dude. Yeah. I like when it's all like... Anyway, one thing, I'll get past the mustache. I didn't mind the mustache. The mustache was fine. The hair's fine. He doesn't have the teeth, man.
Well, see, this is where... the perfect segue, by the way. This is my second favorite thing in this movie. And it's that they contextualize Dracula to a point where you understand what he is without them ever really shoving it down your throat. Now, this recontextualizing of him mixes up the idea of what we think of vampires as a whole completely. Mm-hmm. And it's mentioned 2 times directly and in typical Eggers fashion. If you are not aware of that, you're going to be like, what was that? If you don't outright miss it, or your brain just puts it aside because they don't know what the fuck that is, or it doesn't know. Well, apparently your brain's a they, but anyway, they don't know. It
they,
doesn't
them.
know. They, them, yes. Yeah. And that's something that it's not a detraction to the film. It's just, that's Eggers' style. And if you're an astute viewer, you'll go and research that. And if you'll be like, hell yes. And then again, if you go and research it, you'll be like, oh man, this is fantastic. So they basically tell you why Dracula is Dracula, or I'm sorry, Orlok is Orlok in this, and it's later we get it through what's his name, Von Franz or whatever, Defoe's character, which is a new one entirely. But anyway, but first you get introduced to it by the cloister of nuns that Hutter is taken into, and they refer to this creature as a Selamanar, or a Selamanari, as he's later clarified. And, you know, if you're aware of the traditions of Eastern Europe, Romania, and all that jazz, and that hit you at the right... I was like, in the theater, I was like, that's awesome, man. And I came and I told you...
I don't know what the hell that is again.
Yeah, which is great. Don't get me wrong. That's part of what's great about a movie like this. It's something that's... like it just populates the entirety of his previous film, The Lighthouse. It's literally... rife with symbolism, and a lot of it has historical and contextual meaning to to mariners and sea life. So if you go and dig into it more, it means more and more the more you see the movie, right? Here, it's that one moment where you're like, damn, that's cool. And Defoe does say a lot more about it that you can grasp it if you're not 100% familiar with it. But yes, the Selamanari were basically, you know, these of tradition and lore, street urchins and orphans that were taken in by devils and taught magic, taught how to control winds and control animals and beasts. And this is all stuff that basically fits what he does. Yeah, it fits into the Dracula mythology. I'm sorry, vampire mythology as a whole. In this case, Orlok, all this mythology fits in so well with this concept, and it's just such a unique and cool concept. It also really enriches the end, because it gives this whole idea of this is a puppet of the devil, and then by default our heroes are instruments of good, of God, if you will. This goes back to Dracula, which is a book written by a Christian man that literally wrote a book about good versus evil, with the Dracula character being absolute evil, which here Orlok is 100% absolute evil. He refers to himself as an appetite. Ultimately, this movie is about temptation and human nature and our constant battle with human nature. And that ending, it just enriches that so much. Because there's kind of like a gray area with Ellen Hutter here. She is somebody kind of born out of time. She has these things that connect her to this creature. In fact, she's the whole reason this creature has kind of like come out of its sleep. And she is a woman represented, that lives in a society that's predominantly Christian.
Big ass head, big
ass forehead, especially. Yeah. And she carries a lot of guilt because she's fighting her nature, which is connected to this creature that is 100% succumbing to his baser self, and he is luring her in this fashion. So that ending, without spelling it for anybody that hasn't seen it, has so many layers to it, because you feel that yes, she is stepping up and becoming something of a savior figure by choice, but also there's like that thin line of she also wants to give in to this darkness. And that just the way she interacts with Orlok in the end, and then finally interacts with Hutter, there's so much being acted out in just facial expressions that you're like, you're kind of blown away by this. So there's a lot of that's tied into just this one reveal, that this is this kind of once man that was not only instructed by devils, but chose to prolong his life even beyond the power that they gave him, and he's become this kind of like abomination. But that all brings me to ask this question. You are a lover of short men, and you're also
DeVito
kind of
have been Knock.
Yeah, man, DeVito. So Knock, as we refer to him often, but here he's the proper pronunciation is in play, so now you must call him Canuck.
Nah, homie.
But
or should I say Knock, homie?
He's played by, I don't know who played him, but
he's pretty good.
He's pretty damn good. They expand his role quite a bit, which is great, because we can never get enough of that Renfield archetype, right? And he's just, I can't think of a better person that's played that character in all his forms than this guy. He's fantastic, man. And almost like a kind of like a secondary a way to get this idea of us fighting our nature, because this is a guy that gave up everything. It's almost tragic when he dies, because he realizes that he gave it all up for nothing, because darkness will give you nothing in return. It's greedy, it's selfish, right? So, but he does it so well, man, and it's almost scary to see him be lost in the sauce.
Has a huge sack too.
Does have a huge sack,
right?
I mean, maybe that was part of the gift. Not a great gift,
big sack,
but
tiny dick, but huge sack.
No, that's a whole nother tangent. Yeah. But anyway,
I had a tiny.
I had a tiny dick, huge sack. Yeah. Well, you just said it. You had one, and I'm presuming it's still the case.
No, they kind of stayed the same size.
Exactly, a baby size. Yeah.
I was slightly distracted by what's her face's gigantic head, but she was fine. She was pretty good.
She's good.
At first, when they announced her, I was like, come on, guy. But no, she's pretty good.
I wouldn't say I was disappointed because of. I mean, I hadn't really indulged in her acting other than Yoga Hosers, which fuck. But I was like, she's got to be capable if Eggers picked her, right? I was more disappointed by the fact that the original choice was apparently Anya Taylor-Joy, and it's always great to see her, and she's worked with Eggers before, so I was like, hell yeah. She did a pretty admirable job, man, and she's actually really good in this. Everybody is nary a complaint in that department. What else you got?
I gotta say that. I mean, I know this was I knew this already, but my boy Nicholas Hoult, guy, he's on a freaking roll.
He's on a little roll, guy.
He's on a mad roll, and I'm not gonna lie, he's like the only thing I'm looking forward to in Superman.
Yeah, he actually looks.
He looks cool.
He looks like a terrifying Lex.
Yeah. Well, Kevin Spacey was terrifying, but for different reasons.
Man. He violated an island.
Yeah, he went after Guy Pearce recently.
Come on, man. Who goes after Guy?
Because Guy was calling him a freak, which he is.
Guy's not wrong.
Yeah, and then Kevin Spacey was like, "Come on, Guy. You wanted to hang out with me all the time. Like, come on, you're making yourself look weirder."
Look, man. We gotta accept that all kinds of freaks have hung out with normal people and vice versa. Some of them know, some of them don't. It's not an own unless you're actually in the know. Was Guy in the know? I don't think so. And if he was, well, then Kevin Spacey might be a little bit right. But still, Kevin Spacey's so much of a freak that it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, exactly. You know who else is a freak?
Nosferatu?
Exactly. I like how it seems to... I mean, again, I don't remember the Herzog version very much. Though that was
been a while.
That was the first one I saw.
It was? It's been a really long while, actually.
Yeah, a long time. I like that every adaptation seems to kind of like change the feeling of Warlock. Like, I like the OG because he just kind of seems like an animal. You know, like kind of like Lost almost. But he's evil, so he brings evil with him. It's kind of like an unintentional evil guy. You know what I mean? There's almost like a sadness to him, in my opinion. Because he just kind of seems lost. You know what I mean?
You want to pet him, is what you're saying.
Kinda. Yeah, even though he's evil. And he's got a cute head. And I don't remember Herzog's very well, but this one's just like, he's just straight horny evil guy.
I think each version represents him as kind of like an embodiment, not only of evil, but of death, you know? And in various versions. On the spiritual level, of course, you know, evil and death go hand in hand, right? But they use plague imagery a lot in the Nosferatu movies to promote this idea of kind of evil transcending a spiritual territory into corporeal form. And I think Herzog does a really good job of like making that seem more prominent of the three. You know, whereas in the other two, it's subtext to the material. With this one being more focused on base carnal evil, this one. And the original just being a little bit more, I guess, all-encompassing and thus kind of vague. I want to say basic, but that's not the right word. But you know what I mean.
Yeah. Kind of like aimless in a way.
A little bit. Yeah. In a good way again.
Yeah, because it's in a way it's kind of scary that way. You know, like you don't really know what his freaking motivation is. He's just kind of evil and sad. I just gotta freaking suck on my boy Willem again. He's good in everything he does, but he's really good in this.
He's awesome, dude. I want an entire Willem movie.
Hell yeah.
There was people going, and then, don't get me wrong, I'm not shitting on them, on their dreams, if you will. They were like, we want a movie about that Romani vampire hunter. Okay, I get it. Cool scene. Very cool scene. Much better than the one in the original, mind you. But I want a movie about freaking Willem, dude.
Yeah, his exploits.
He just such a fascinating character. You know, the occult detective trope is one that I've always loved, and this kind of like plays into it, only retro style. Yeah, he's freaking badass, dude. I love him. I love how that type of character always feels inherently flawed, you know, and he definitely feels that way. But unlike, say, a Constantine or anything, he's not.
Yeah, he's not scum.
He's not scum. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. So, yeah, there's something just awesome about him, and I love how he wields his words and his ways the way somebody learned of that time would. You know, they don't strictly adhere to Christianity. There was a lot of weird interplay with occultism back then, especially among the more educated and you know, richer people and the artistic people. You know, Christianity wasn't so straightforward. There was a lot of weird mixes of stuff, and that's exactly how it plays the character, and it's kind of fascinating, you know. And it's Willem, so
yeah, I'm gonna be sad when he dies.
Yeah, he's pretty old too.
Yeah.
Good thing they didn't show his dong, because that would have really distracted.
He would have made Orlok look like shit, guy.
Yeah,
that's all he had to do was swing his dick around like the Sphinx.
The Sphinx dance guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, let's give a final score to this.
10, guys. It's clearly a 10.
Yeah, it's a 10, man. Once again, Eggers hitting it out of the ballpark. It's good to know that he's gonna go back into kind of like old folkloric horror territory, apparently with focus features here. Which I'm glad this movie was a success, because The Northman did not hit with audiences, financially speaking. But this one is a success, so he's going to do a werewolf movie now. And recently we watched a movie called The Cursed, which I do believe you liked quite a bit. Definitely my favorite werewolf movie in a very long time. Not that there's many great ones, but you said, I want more gypsy horror.
Yeah.
And I mean, that goes, it's kind of go hand in hand, right?
Yeah,
so
better.
we may be getting that, which would be awesome.
I kind of like never realized how much like the gypsy thing ties into the werewolf. Well, I've never saw Wolfman, to be fair.
That's a good point.
So,
there is gypsy action in that. I feel like gypsy has now been nixed as a term, but you know, we're not hating on the gypsy folk. We think they're cool, unless they steal something from you.
I came across a crazy gypsy recently that I hated.
Like an actual gypsy?
Well, no. She was Bulgarian, but we called her a gypsy because she sucked.
Bulgaria or Eastern European?
That's what I'm saying.
There's Romani and Bulgaria. They were traveling folk, after all.
That's those nomads, if you will. Anyway.
A 10 across the board. If you haven't seen Nosferatu, I mean, let's see it now that it's available on digital. We'll forever hold it against you that you didn't see this in the theater, because, I mean, come on, man.
I wanted to enjoy it. I didn't want to get a headache.
Nevertheless, Nosferatu fan number 1. For shame. Anyway, we're out. Let us know what you think about it. Bye.